reason. Your family freaks me out. I don't know. Grandpa just said the weirdest shit ever out today.
What?
I don't know if I heard the thing he said correctly or it was just funny.
What?
Grandpa just said the weirdest shit ever out today.
What?
I don't know. I don't know if I heard the thing he said correctly or it was just funny.
Hey, Matthias.
Grandpa just said the weirdest shit ever
I
out
just
today.
sent you.
I don't know. I don't know if I heard the thing he said correctly or it was just funny.
Hey, Matthias.
Grandpa just said the weirdest shit ever.
Yeah,
I can hear it. I don't know. I don't know if I heard the thing he said correctly or it was just funny.
Hey, Matthias.
Grandpa just said I'm gonna mute you on Discord because I can hear.
Well,
I don't know if I heard the thing he said correctly or it was just funny.
Hey, Matthias.
Grandpa just I'm gonna mute you on Discord because I can hear.
Well,
I don't know if I heard the thing he said correctly or it was just funny.
Hey, Matthias.
Grandpa just I'm gonna mute you on Discord because I can.
No, the punch rotation, the surprise tri-lane. Can we get a rewind and see if he was just sitting in the trees that entire time?
We certainly can.
Oh my god, he actually was.
All right, let's keep rewinding a little bit.
Alright. About to get on the boot camp. The coding. You heard me? The coding boot camp. Is there a bandage up here? I'll get after her. Just a little script on it. How the heck did that happen? I'm streaming, so my was gonna be in this class. I think he can hear us though, I don't know. Was the bathroom door closed?
Yeah, who closed that?
Oh, that's what I was wondering. I thought someone was in there, that's why I didn't go in there. So was there someone in there? No.
No.
Yeah, I was confused when I was downstairs.
Is the camera on?
No. Girl, you know you want to be on camera. Well, you don't want to be on camera? You don't like the cameras? No, that's what I was saying, it's camera. You're on camera. No, you're not.
Fix that. All right. Shall we get started? 6:32, a couple of minutes extra for you because I'm very kind. Good evening, everyone. How are you all doing today? I assume doing well. Got a couple of thumbs up. A lot of people looking at me like, what are you talking about? Oh, there's one. Good thumbs up. Today, awesome. We are going to be going over JavaScript. So we've dealt with HTML, which is the structure. We've gone through CSS, which is the style. And now we're going to go to JavaScript, which is the logic. It's doing all the work in the background, makes you superpowered, essentially, from what you could do before. It's extremely important and extremely, I'm not going to say extremely difficult, but it is a different paradigm than what we've been working in. So you're going to have to change the way you think a little bit. Good luck. Today, as every day, please sign into Bootcamp Spot if you've not done so already. Make sure you get credit for attending today. And then, does anyone have questions over what we went over last week? Go ahead and unmute yourself and shout them out. Nothing, huh? All right. Well, if anything should come up, please do not hesitate to ask. With that, and I know you all got the email, and you've noticed that we've got this waiting room. So if you come early, or I'm sorry, if you come late, you're going to have to be in the waiting room until I can get around to letting you in. Or I don't know if the TAs can let you in. I actually haven't asked them if they could see anyone. But there's no one who's waiting in the waiting room, so I can't verify it now anyways. But the whole reason for that was we want to avoid Zoom bombing. Oh, there. Can the TAs see someone in the waiting room? Are they allowed to admit them? Can't manage participants? Can you see that or is that not even an option in your Zoom?
Yeah, it looks like we're able to.
Awesome.
And to admit them. Yep.
That would be very helpful if you would keep an eye on that for me as I am teaching. That would be very helpful for me indeed.
Sure.
Thank you.
Quick question.
Yep.
Will we get an email notification when our homework has been graded?
Good question. I don't know the answer to that.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I did. I got an email notification.
There you go. Maybe you might. You might have to set it up to do that. Or maybe they changed this. When I was a student, I didn't get emails.
Not Slack, GitHub. I got an email notification from GitHub that said somebody contributed to my GitHub repository.
Oh, it was from GitHub. I see.
Yeah. And then I also,
Yeah,
if you
that's
check
that
your
would
grades,
come from
if
Bootcamp Spot.
somebody corrected it, your grade should show up.
Oh.
Yeah. So don't.
I'm going to speak to that. So it's you only got the email because I forked it and then put in some notes and then pushed it back up, and then GitHub was like, hey, somebody forked your repo and made suggestions for you. Go check it out. But in terms of just strictly boot camp, Spot, they don't give you an email. So just to clarify that.
So are you supposed to log in every day and check?
Yep. You'll
Basically,
get,
yeah.
There's a little notification thing at the top, and it'll show you if it's been graded.
Okay.
Yeah. So don't count on an email. Just check your grades when you log in.
And I'm going to be
I
grading
appreciated
yours.
the email though.
So.
Oh, I guess I do have a question.
Sure.
Before we get started. So one of the bonus things for the assignment was a sticky bottom, but I noticed there's a sticky top in boot camp, but there's no sticky bottom. So is that kind of the thing? It's like a trick you have to figure out how to do a sticky bottom without Bootstrap?
Oh, so it's, if you'll recall, one of the positioning properties, actually, this is a good question. So one of the positioning properties has to do with that. Does anyone remember what it is? Fixed. So if you have a display fixed, it will stick to wherever you stick it, essentially, is what it is. And so it's not so much a Bootstrap component as it is a CSS property. So if you wanted to, you could take the footer and apply the fixed property to it, and then that would just make sure it sticks in the bottom.
Okay, so yeah. So we don't have to use Bootstrap for that. We can use,
right.
All right, I got it, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Other questions? All right, then let us move on. Let us continue. With slides. Hooray, slides. So today's class, we're going to cover JavaScript definitions and the basics of JavaScript: variables, logging, alerting, and prompting, arrays, and then if-else statements, also known as control flow statements. Prepare to become true coders. This guy is very happy with his yellow toque or beanie hat or whatever you want to call it. How to learn JavaScript. So how to learn what you're learning. There's a lot of stuff going on in JavaScript, and that's okay. It's very powerful, but it can be pretty complicated. It's good to know. You take little pieces of what you can latch onto and then expand from there, right? Just learn one thing at a time, and then by the end of the week, you'll have mastered JavaScript. Also, time to take notes. This is a great time to start taking notes. Longhand, if you have a pen and paper. You could also, when you're on a computer, you can just open a Notepad document and write notes there. But notes are a great way to help you learn. The process of writing something down longhand actually is proven to help you remember something. And also, it offers a great resource where you can go back to, cheat sheet, if you will. There's a lot to learn. I think I've mentioned that. So, the more avenues you have to remember those things, the better. Speaking of which, stay organized. It's easy to throw stuff in multiple different places, whether it's physically or whether it's the files on your computer. Having a folder on your desktop that has all of your homework stuff in it, and then from there, moving to week 1, day 1, week 3, day 1 type stuff is a pretty good standard practice. And if you don't have your own system that works for you, might I suggest that one? That way, at the very least, you can see when you were working on something, if you don't necessarily remember exactly what it was. And then some other general tips. Review classwork immediately. Redo class activities at home. That's important. Do is way better than read. Come to office hours and keep asking questions. I have hit that one enough, so I will leave it for now. And do not fear, you will get this. A lot at first. It gets complicated. You'll get through it. All the TAs have been through this. They got through it. You'll get through it as well. So now that I've told you everything there is to know about JavaScript, why don't I have you dissect some code? You're JavaScript masters. You've learned all the syntax, and you know absolutely everything there is to know. So I'm going to Slack out a file, and I would like you to get with partners, by which I mean enter into the breakout rooms that I make for you, and then just kind of discuss what you think is going on in that file. There is no right or wrong answer. It is literally just what you think is happening. We will touch base with this later. The instructions are right here. I'm putting them in Slack as we speak. Here's class activities. There's that. So open the file I am going to paste in Chrome. Observe what happens with the partner. Try to explain how the code connects to the events that happen on the page. You have not covered JavaScript before. That's not true. I just taught you everything there was to know about JavaScript, so don't worry about that. But being a big part of being a developer is learning on the fly. Here is the file we are going to be looking at. Remember, do not copy and paste this code into your own file. It will ruin everything. You need to download this using this button right here, and then open it from your computer that way. Otherwise, you're going to have a bad time. Does anyone have any questions on this assignment? Okay. In that case, I will create these rooms. And remember, if you are in there with a TA, I will do my very best to split you all apart so you're working with a partner. If you do not have a partner, you'll probably get put in a 3. So here we go. Oops. Automatically.
Hey, what's up?
Good.
Well, he sent us an HTML file. Have you opened it yet?
Yeah, it had a bunch of pop-ups. Like, I think it was those alerts. Yeah, it was those alerts.
Yeah, I got a bunch of those. I clicked through all of them, and then it just like loads a blank HTML page.
Yeah.
It looks like. Oh. So yeah, obviously each alert box is sort of like controlled by your previous answer. So like the if confirm cats alert pet name plus blah 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 pet name pet age. If pet age is 7, alert my pet is not 7 years old.
JavaScript is very confusing because I try to take a look at JavaScript, but that thing
Yeah.
is
Yeah, the pre-work, there was some of it, and it was kind of confusing for sure.
oh yeah, that's the part that I got to, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna confuse myself too much if I go any further.
Mhm.
Like, it was just
Yeah, I couldn't get mine to work for a while, and I couldn't figure out why, and it turned out to be something dumb. Like the littlest mistake, you know what I mean?
oh yeah, JavaScript is very like nitty gritty, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of different parentheses and like um, captioning elements or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That were confusing.
So the if and the else, does that mean like if you do a certain command, then it inputs a certain action?
Yeah, like if your answer is what it says, then it'll give that answer, and I think you can set it up to do um, pretty much anything you want. Yeah, I'm already confused.
For real, listen, trying to dissect this. Golly.
That Slack notification was loud in my headphones.
Oh yeah.
I'm just like staring deep into this JavaScript.
For real, I'm just really just trying to understand it. Making more sense, but still not making like the most sense. But I'm starting to understand more and more of it.
Yeah. It almost looks like it's written like CSS. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, I got a call coming. Hello? Dude, why are you calling me when I have a class going on? Alright, what? Describe it now that I'm on the phone. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's new, but we don't need to discuss that right now. I want to understand the actual code. Yeah. 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 Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. If the pet is cat, so if you do like cats, then it's gonna say my pet is a cat if you don't like cat. If you say yes, it's my pet is a cat. True. Oh,
All right,
okay.
welcome back, everyone. I hope you had some good conversations about what
Yeah.
you think is going on in those files or in that file. We will not be going over the answer right now. We're going to give you some more context before we revisit that particular file. So let us continue. What is JavaScript? JavaScript is one of the three fundamental programming languages of the modern web, the other two being HTML and CSS. I'm speaking. HTML is used the content, CSS is the format, and JavaScript is dynamic, or used to create dynamic web applications that take in user inputs, change what's displayed to users, animate elements, and much more. Also, julienne fries. So, one of the major things that you have in JavaScript is called a variable. A variable is the noun of programming. Numbers, strings, booleans, etc. Those are different types of variable. It is the thing you are working with. You take the thing, you do something to that thing, it becomes another thing, then you return that thing to the user, or you put it in a database, or you store it some other place. So we have here, this is the variable declarator, it's a word now. This is the, or declarator, this is the name of the variable. In this case, the variable's name is name. And then equals, we are setting it to Snow White. This is a string. You can tell because it has the double quotes before and afterwards. The second one, the variable is called dwarf count. It is equal to the number 7. And variable is sleeping is equal to true. Boolean, true or false. This is the syntax broken down a little bit further for you. The var keyword here is how you tell the computer you are declaring a new variable. You have to have that before any of the rest of your stuff here. You can also have let, and you can have const. We will go over those later, but I am telling you now because it's true. Then you have the variable name. That's the name of the variable. It could be Jeff. It could be a name. It could be cell phone. Whatever you want it to be. But it has to be you have to give it a name, so you can reference it later. If you don't have a name to reference it later, it's doesn't do you very much good. And then you are assigning it with the equals symbol. That's setting this to the value. In this case, it's Snow White. And then after everything in JavaScript, you need a semicolon. Computers are dumb. That's going to come up again and again and again. You have to tell the computer what you are doing, declaring a variable. You also have to tell the computer when you are done. I am now done declaring my variable. Go on and do something else. That is what the semicolon does. Be sure to notice the quotes right here. This conveys that Snow White is a string, and a string is just text. Just text. It's any English text or language text that you could possibly think of. It's just a string. So let me go over a quick, variable demo here. Skip out of that. And open this up. Basic variables demo. We're gonna open it up, I wonder if it got printed out. No, it didn't then, never mind. Here we go. So what you have in this file is our script. So script is JavaScript, right? Note the script tag here, as well as the text text/JavaScript. When we write JavaScript in HTML, it must be contained within a script tag. HTML knows about scripts, but you have to separate them from the rest of the code, right? You can have a meta tag, that's metadata. You can have a title tag, that's a title. You can have the body tag, that's a body. And you can also have a script tag, and that is where you write code, JavaScript. We're also setting the type to text/JavaScript. That's telling the computer what kind of code we're looking at. It could be something else. It could be TypeScript, it could be JSON, but none of that is, you're usually going to see this. 99 times out of 100, you're going to see text JavaScript. Variables can be strings, again, just any text, and any string starts and ends with this double quote. It can be a number, that's this number 7 here. Note there are no quotes around the 7. Or Boolean, true or false. This is a special word, it's called a reserved word. So true is the value that is getting set to is sleeping. Everyone kind of following along? Any questions? Okay.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
is this going to end up being treated like CSS, where it's got its own JavaScript file and it's sort of linked in and not existing in the HTML document?
Yes.
Okay, because I've seen some sort of context clues with that, looking at other pages, and I didn't know if that would be the case or not.
Yep. Sooner rather than later, we will be breaking out JavaScript into its own file. That is correct.
And what do you mean by a variable is sleeping equals true? Are you telling the code that if this is true, you get a certain answer?
No, but that's a good question. So what I'm saying is I'm storing this value in this variable. It's essentially a container. I'm creating a new box called is sleeping, putting a label on it that says, some tape on it that says is sleeping. And then I'm putting a variable or a value into that box. Later, if I want to get that value out, all I have to do is tell the computer which box I'm looking at. That's the name of the variable. And then I can do something with it, right? I could log it out to the console. And this is something we will go over in a bit, but I'm just kind of showing you a little bit of how to, how this works. You can store things for use later. I look at the console here. You can see that it printed out true, which is exactly what we stored in is sleeping. I could do the same for name. So now you can see that it printed out Snow White. All we're doing is we're taking some data, some value, and we're storing it for later. And we're giving it a name that we know what it means. So when we go back, we can get it. Console.log we will be going over in short order, so I won't touch that just yet. Therefore, we are going to, or therefore, I can use $2 words, I don't care. Next, what we are going to do is we are going to have a little activity for yourself. We'd like you to get as much hands-on experience with this code as possible. The more you do, the better you will learn. And so we're going to be having a lot of smaller exercises today and going forward for a little bit. So the instructions will be being sent via Slack, but this is a breakdown of it. You're going to use the instructions in the file sent to you to fill in the missing JavaScript code to create variables. When you are done, open the file in Chrome and check the output. If you successfully complete the activity, you will see a series of pop-up windows with the text that you put in there inside. Finally, look at the rest of the code and try to figure out why the text displayed the way it did. So for those of us playing at home, I will throw that into the Slack channel there. And I will also throw this out to all of y'all's. Remember, download, do not copy paste. So we are going to take, I think it's 10 minutes to do this. Please follow the instructions in the file or on the screen. And if you have any other questions, please speak up. The TAs and myself are here to help. 10 minutes. Okay, folks, why don't we do this together? That's the wrong one. This is the right one. So let's do this together. I would love to hear the answer to how to do this. So we're looking at create 3 variables, one called name, one called pizza count, and one called is hungry. How do I create a new variable called name? I'm going to do it on line 19.
You put VAR and then space name.
Mm-hmm.
And then
That is correct. That's how I would create a new variable called name. I wanted to set it to something. The name variable should be set to your name. So how do I do that?
Equal to double quotes. And the name.
All right. Am I done?
Close it.
Yeah, it's closed and then a semicolon. That's correct. You need to set your semicolon at the end of every statement so that the computer doesn't get confused. I have another pizza count variable that I need to set, right? So what am I going to do? Same thing, I assume. Tell me. What am I going to do?
Another variable with the name of pizza count.
The type first.
And then equals space a number.
Am I done?
Semicolon.
And then finally, I think I got this part now. I'm going to call it is hungry. What am I doing for true or false?
True. Then true.
Just the word true?
Equals true.
Parentheses?
Sorry?
In parentheses?
Nope, we don't need parentheses. That's advanced topic. We'll go over that later. So if I wanted to open this.
Pizza that you want, like cheese or pepperoni.
Sorry, what was that?
Can you put like the type of the pizza that you want? Like cheese or pineapple? Is that possible? Like after the pizza?
You can do anything you want. The world is your pizza in this case. But for right now, we're only going to be dealing with setting and retrieving variables. But yes, you could do something like that. So it says, oh, I did a bad job. Welcome, Charlie. Pizzas cost $5 each. The total is $110. That's a lot of pizza. And yet I'm still hungry. I don't understand. So this code here, we're storing a new variable and we're using an old variable to calculate, right? Because we know exactly how many pizzas we wanted to order. And we also know that they cost $5. So 22 pizzas times $5 is $110. And that's how we get our new variable called total cost. So you can use old variables and calculations to get new variables. And that's the majority of what you're going to be doing. Next, we have this. This is the parentheses, right? Because it's a function. It's a function called alert. And for now, just understand that a function is a bit of code that does something that has been written somewhere else. We'll go more into that in a little bit. But when you are calling a function, then you have your parentheses. So what we're doing is we're calling our alert function. We're passing in welcome, which is just a string, and then our name variable. And what we're doing here is you can't, I mean, you know 1 plus 1. Number plus number is another number. 1 plus 1 equals 2. 5 plus 5 equals 10. When you add strings, because remember, welcome with the double quotes is a string, and name is also a string. When you add 2 strings together with the plus, what you get is 1 string that has them both smashed together, right? So this will end up being Welcome, Charlie. That's called string concatenation. And you'll hear that term a lot because that's what we're doing, is we're concatenating or gluing together two different strings to get one string. Here we're alert again. So this alert makes that little pop-up that we see on the page. So that's what alert does. It makes something drop down, and then you can click on it for OK. Pizzas cost $5 each. We're just going to tell them, alert, your total is, and then we add the total cost. This time we're adding a string and a number. How does that work? Well, what JavaScript does is it tries to turn this number into a string and then adds it here. So that's why that works. So what we're doing is it's going to be the same thing as string concatenation, right? Same thing here, still hungry. And we concatenate a Boolean. Boolean is true or false. There's only two things it can be, true or false, 0 or 1. It's the same thing. It'll try to turn it into a string and add it together with the other string, concatenate them to get printed out. So this is. So that's what's going on there. Questions? Okay, let's move on. I mentioned we were going to go a little bit more into console.log. So let's go a little bit more into console.log. I will use this pre-made code just because we're a little bit behind, as we usually are. So what you can do in this file is you open the console to see the magic. Console.log is what we are using to print stuff out to our console. Remember, you hit F12 to open up the console. That's the console right here. And you can see what we're printing out. This is how you print stuff out to the console when you want to debug, which is to say, make sure your code is working properly, or find where the problem is in your code. You're going to use console.log a lot. You are allowed to print out data for you or for whoever else to look at and see what's going on.
This is basically a terminal window, right?
It's basically a terminal window, or yes, essentially, yes. So we have our script tag. And then inside what we are doing is we are declaring a new variable called quick. The fox is quick. We are declaring a variable called slow. The turtle is slow. And some numbers, which is just a number, 121. The console.log method or function is used to display data in the browser's console. We can log strings, variables, and even equations. So you can pass pretty much anything into console.log and it will get printed out. We can print out just a bare string, or what we call a string literal. It doesn't belong in a variable, right? This is a variable, but teacher isn't in a variable. It's just its own thing. So we call that a literal. You could also log out a string that's in a variable. So this is quick. You can log out turtle, which is slow. You can also log out numbers. So that's numbers, which is 121 plus 15. So you can do equations inside of the console.log as well. Because just like in algebra, there is an order of operations. This gets done first, and then the outside gets done second. Any questions on that so far?
Can a variable have more than one value or no?
So a variable starts off with one value, but it can vary. It's variable, so you can change it. If I wanted to, I could change this variable called quick to something else. I don't want it to print out fox anymore. Now I want it to print out hawk. I do quick equals hawk. You will note that I am not reusing the variable keyword. Does anyone know why? Or does anyone have an inkling as to why?
You've already declared it as a variable. You don't need to declare it again.
I already built the box. I don't need to build a new one. There is a box that is labeled quick. I do not need to make a new one. So once I declare it, I make my box. I can then put other stuff in it later if I want to. Get out of here, Fox. You're dumb. I like hawks better. So now if I save this and go back to my demo, you will see that it actually prints out hawk instead, because that's what I put in the box to use later.
So it's not additive. It would only show the last one. It would not show both of them.
That is correct. I am overwriting it. Quick equals. Equals meaning I am setting it.
What would be your use cases of that?
If you have a variable that you used earlier that you do not want to use again, but is no longer in use, you can just use that to do something different. Otherwise, another use case would be if you have control flow, which is the if-else statements we're looking at later. If something happens, you want to set a variable to one thing. And if that doesn't happen, otherwise, set that variable to another thing. So you would declare the variable first, and then you would check, and inside the check, you would set the variable to something. It's pretty high concept, so if you don't understand, I get it. We'll go over that a little bit more. But I hope that I at least sated your curiosity a little bit. So console.log is another function. This is code that was written by someone else, somewhere else, and we are just using it. A function is like a variable, except instead of a noun, it holds a verb. I'm doing something. This is a task that we are doing. If there are no more questions, we can move on. I just did that. Console.log is a quick expression that prints content to the debugger, the console. Very useful during development and debugging. Remember, debugging is literally just taking bugs out, taking issues with your code and making them not issues anymore. Here's the code we were just going over, but now it's on a slide, so it's better. Here's a quick joke. Is everyone ready? It's really bad. It's a certified dad joke. How do you comfort a JavaScript bug? You console it. Knee slapper. Boo.
Boo.
Boo indeed.
No, I actually like that joke.
All right. So now that I've introduced it, I'd like you to play around with it a little bit. I will give you some instructions. It is just going to be a quick 5-minute exercise. We are going to use the file sent to you as a guide, modify the code so that it uses console.log instead of alerts to display messages. Then open the file in the browser and open up Chrome Developer Tools console to confirm that the changes worked. And then with a partner, discuss the difference between console.log and alert, how they differ, how they're the same, etc. So for those of us playing at home, here in the chat is the set of instructions. Here is the starter code to look at. Download, don't copy, paste. And then I will throw you into your breakout rooms again. We're just going to take 5 minutes for this. So have fun. Let's move you into 3. All right, now we go. Boom.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, how's it going, bro?
It's going good. How you doing?
Good, man. Let me just read this thing again. Modify the code so that it uses console log instead of the alerts to display messages. Partner discuss the difference between console log and alert. I definitely understood the first part. The second part is a function that is
Pretty much explaining what console.log does versus what alert does, or
what do you mean, the assignment or the definition?
I think I don't know, the definition maybe, or
It says the console log is a function in JavaScript that is used to print any kind of variable defined before init or just to print any message that needs to be displayed by the user. So it says replace each of the alert functions below with console log. Oh, so maybe
do you need an equal sign after a console log?
I don't think so, no, because I think it's kind of the same style as an alert, like how it's supposed to look.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look up this picture real quick. Yeah, you don't. It doesn't look like you really need one. You just have to close it at the end.
Okay, I see.
I kind of understand it. I think it's saying instead of having it kind of be a variable, maybe it's just that you're supposed to kind of just put the answer in there so it just displays. I think, I don't know.
I wonder what the real life use of a console log would be then. Like what scenario someone would use that.
Do you kind of understand it?
I
I don't think
understand the switching it from the console or from alert to console. Like
you get that part.
yeah, and I see like where it goes into the console, but I'm trying to figure out why somebody would use
console instead of the alert.
yeah, like what the use of that thing is.
It says console method. Well, that link he gave us, that W3 schools, the definition says the console log method writes a message to the console. It says it's useful for testing purposes. When testing this method, be sure to have consoles with visibles. Press F12, that's what it says.
So it's pretty much just like it's like one of those error checkers.
Oh, so I guess, let me see. Got it. So whatever the console log, we basically, whatever we're supposed to write in there is like, it's kind of, I guess I maybe might be doing this right, but whatever we use for the console, it's like, let's say the pizza costs $5 each. I guess that would be the total cost. We would write total cost inside there. That kind of displays the message. I think that would be the message. Reopen this one. I mean, I feel like that's what it is, because that's the example it kind of gives in that W3 schools link that he gave us. Not for this assignment, but he told us to use it for reference.
Okay, I would love to know how you solved this. What do I do on line 18 here if I want to change this alert to a console.log, and what does it mean? Still accepting volunteers.
Means you replace alert with console.log.
Like that? Or what am I doing?
Yes.
Okay. What is it going to do instead of what it did before? Well, A, what did it do before? And B, what is it going to do now?
The alerts don't come up anymore, or those boxes. It takes you to a plain white page where you have to do a function F12 to go to the console.
That is correct. Instead of it showing up like this, what we are going to get is a whole bunch of those. So that's what we are doing. We are replacing one function call with a different function call. Remember, this is a function or a method. Console.log is the function or method. And alert is the method or function. It is code that does something that was stored for later use, and now we are using it. Does anyone have any additional questions on this? Okay.
I have a question.
Oh, of course. What's up?
Instead of variable total cost, I just added pizza count. Instead of star, I added this plus in the alert in the console itself. It seems your total, it is taking like your total is 155.
Sorry, I don't think
I took the variable itself. I just I put the pizza count plus 5 in the console itself.
Oh, I see. So what you did was you did, sorry.
Console.log, your total is in the third alert box.
Oh. On which line?
Third alert. Yes.
So
Instead
22?
of total cost, yes, I added pizza count plus 5.
What you did?
Yes, I took the total cost. Yes, it shows
Yes.
1552.
So what this is going to do, yeah, it's going to do 15, because remember, it's not doing math right now.
Okay.
You have to be very careful about this. So this is a string.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have a string plus something else, it's going to convert this into a string.
Okay.
And then tack it on here.
Oh, okay.
So then what we have is we have 15 plus 5, right?
Yes.
And so then again, 5 is a number, so it's going to convert that into a string. And that's what we're going to get.
Oh, okay.
If you wanted, just like in algebra,
Okay.
you can circumvent that order of operations
Mm-hmm.
like this. Pizza count plus 5 will then come up to 20, and you will get your total as 20.
Oh, okay.
So let's, there you go. Total is $20.
Okay. Okay.
Other questions?
Yeah. So whenever can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I tried to put in console.log, and then when I, welcome Fisher or whatever his name is.
Mm-hmm. That.
Oh,
Like that?
hold on.
You're breaking up. All right. I'll get with you in a bit, Ahmed. For now, unless there are any other questions, let's take a 15-minute break. Let's be back here at 8 o'clock p.m. post-meridian, and we can continue on with JavaScript. Are you there, Ahmed?
Yeah.
All right. So what was the question?
So my question is, hold on, share screen. So I tried opening, I have console.log for all the 4 variables, and then whenever I hit second, it's blank white space.
Yep, that's what's going to happen. So this right here is just the web page itself. If you want to
Oh,
look
really?
at what's getting console.logged out, you actually have to go into the developer tools. So you can hit F12, or you can right click and click inspect, and then go to console, or however you want to get there. So try hitting F12. Yep, that's also okay. And if you go to the console, there it is.
Okay, got it. Yep.
Good
Okay.
question.
Sounds good. That's all I needed. Yep.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Really want a donut now.
Right? Oh, man.
Thanks, Charlie.
I ruined everyone's night. If it makes you feel any better, I ruined
So
my night
good.
as well. So.
Those look like those glam doll donuts.
Oh, man, so good. Actually, there's a place in Eden Prairie called Yo-Yo Donuts that I absolutely love. And I work right by there, which means that I'm fat. So I need to eat fewer of those, I think.
We didn't say any of that.
Oh, yeah, no, all right. Look at anything else. Gross. I'm so very, very sorry about that.
Talking to. What'd you do? Why'd you put this thing on the camera? Huh? Turn the camera off. Ah! They look good though. Thank you. What? What?
What?
This is dope. What? You want me to wear them tomorrow? You want a bite? You sure? Super spicy. Very good for you. Be careful.
Don't crumble the sun until at least like 4 hours, please.
Not bad. That's it. You want some?
Because I don't need help. I don't need it. Yeah. Anyway.
I can't do little joke funs. My bad. I'll make sure that I try to make fun of you. Everything's gonna be serious from now. Well, for real. Hmm. Right.
Just.
I can move my chair. But all right, one more minute. You take the phone off? I like that.
All right, and we are back from our break. So let's talk a little bit more about alert, prompt, and confirm. You've seen alert. There are other things called prompts and confirms. They're also functions that allow us to not only alert something, which is to say, give the user some information, but also do other things, other secret, fantastic things. So let's look what that looks like. First, let's look at the code. So here's our alert. Alert is we definitely rock. Does anyone know how this is going to show up on the page?
In a pop-up window with an OK button.
It's going to have a little window, slide out from the top or wherever it is on your browser, and it's going to say, we definitely rock. And there'll be and you can click it, and it'll go away. Confirm and prompt are also functions. You have confirm, and then you have the parentheses, and we're passing this in as a parameter. So whatever we have in here, we're passing in. But we're also setting a variable equals this confirm. And what that means is that not only does this function do something, now again, it's going to presumably make a box show up on the screen like our alert does, but it also gives a value back. We call that returning a value. So confirm.
What was that?
The question is, do you rock? Is going to return something that we are then going to store in this variable here. And how much rock is the same thing. So prompt is going to return a value that we are going to store in this variable. And then we alert them back out. So if we were to show this on our screen,
How am I supposed
you
to
can
know
see
if
here
it's
it says,
gonna be
we
funny without
definitely rock.
asking?
Okay. The question is, do you rock? Of course I rock. I'm going to hit OK. How much do I rock? Well, I don't know what the scale is. What do you think is a reasonable scale? 1 to 10? 1 to 100?
The classic scale for rocking is 1 to 10, so obviously you go up
11.
to 11.
Yeah, I saw that coming. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to chomp your bit there, but absolutely correct. Goes to 11. So, the first thing that got sent back, remember that we store the first one in do you rock, and then we spit that back out, is true. Does anyone remember what kind of variable true is? And I'm going to call on someone this time.
Boolean.
Because I like getting great. John Farrow. Do you remember what kind of variable true is?
Boolean.
A Boolean, that is correct. It is always either true or false. There's no other Boolean value. So we clicked OK, which gave us true. If we had clicked cancel, it would have given us false. And then it says 11. So on the second one here, how much rock, we our prompt allowed us to input some data. We stored that and then put it back out to the screen. So I could say, we definitely rock. Do you rock? No, I'm having a bad day. How much do I rock? On a scale of 1 to 10, I would say a 3. Better than some, but worse than most. Now it says false because I clicked cancel. And it's got 3, so we're storing that in variable. And that is the use for prompt and confirm. Prompt or confirm asks a yes or no question to your user and gets their answer. And then you can use that answer later. Do you rock? Do you like chickens? Do you eat beef? Do you prefer the color red? These are all yes or no questions. Prefer, that was bad. Do you like the color red? There we go. And then prompt.
Question.
Yes.
So you have you don't have a variable like a true false variable in here. It automatically assumes that because you're confirming it.
Correct. So confirm is always going to return a Boolean. It's going to return true or false.
Okay.
Yep. And prompt is always going to return, it's actually a string. It's not a number, it's a string. If you can see what happens here when we do this. Do I rock? Yes. I'm misunderstanding the question, so I'm typing some, says true, sure do, bucko. So it's actually a string, but our string was a number, so it looked fine. Confirm is always going to return true or false, and prompt is always going to return a string, whatever the user types in. Alerts, prompts, and confirms create a pop-up in the browser when run. These are also useful for development and debugging. If you don't want to actually use them to interact with your user, you can still use them for those reasons. Alert gives us a basic alert with our message and then an OK button that will close it. Nothing else happens. Confirm gives us the same prompt, but this time it has an OK and a cancel. If the user clicks OK, you will get true. If the user clicks cancel, you will get false. And prompt has the same thing, but it actually allows the user to type something in. Whatever they type in there will get returned. Do you think that if we type something in and then we hit cancel, we will get that value? Yes or no?
No.
Hmm?
Yes.
That's one yes. Anyone else have a yes or a no? One yes, and everyone else abstains. So we don't have a, maybe I guess that's technically a yes. Now we click cancel. We got our true value. Well, we didn't get anything back. If you click, no matter what they type in, if they click cancel, that doesn't get returned to you. So heads up on that one. Your turn. Write JavaScript code that does the following. Using a confirm, ask the user, do you like something? Pick a noun or a gerund. Using a prompt, ask the user, what kind of blank do you like? And store their response in a variable. And then alert both variables to the screen. You will be making the demo I just went over, essentially, is what it is. So I will slack out a starter file for you. And I'm going to give you 15, and the instructions. I'm going to give you 15 minutes for this activity. So here are the instructions. And here is the starter file. So please download that file to your computer, open it up, and get to working. Let's take 15 minutes for this, so we'll be back at 8:25. Oh. Sushi's the best. 1 second. I want to make sure I didn't get. Okay, I didn't send you the wrong one. Okay, good. All right. Safe.
Are you even watching the stream anymore? You said what? Oh, okay. I was gonna see if I should stop it if it wasn't being used. Okay, yeah. No, it's still going. I was just seeing if I don't know. Alright, bet. Alright.
You're talking to me out.
Thank you. That's good. Good video. That's good stuff. Just watch me flail around for about a minute and a half. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over a solution. And the solution has to do with sushi because sushi is good. So we're going to ask, we're going to have our confirm box. Do you like sushi? It's going to ask yes or no. And whatever the user answers, we're going to store here. So remember, we have our variable. We declare the variable first. We name it confirm sushi. And then we set it equal to what gets returned from this function call. Yes or no, true or false. Second, we had a prompt. What kind of sushi do you like? Allow them to type in whatever. Create a new variable. Sushi type is the name of the variable. We set it equal to whatever gets returned here. Then we alert, send it out, and then alert, send it out. Does anyone have questions on that? Awesome. So what I would like to do now is go on to the concept of if-else statements, control flow. It controls the flow, or flow control. It controls the flow of the program. You can send it one way to do one thing or another way down the other branch to do something different, depending on the state of the program, depending on what the user has input. So why don't I make this sushi prompt better? So the very first question is, do you like sushi? And we know that whatever they click, yes or no, true or okay or cancel, it's going to give us a true or a false. So what we can do is we can have a condition, a conditional statement, predicated on whether they do or they don't like it. If they do like it, do one thing. If they don't like it, do a different thing. So why don't we do that? So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to say, we're going to use the if-then statement. We're going to start it by if. If is another reserved word. It is a special word in JavaScript. And it is only used to for if-then statements, if-then-else statements. So when we have an if statement, we do if, and then inside of parentheses, we declare what we are looking at. And this has to be a Boolean value. I'll explain what that means in a second. So if confirm sushi is equal to true, we want to do one thing. How do you check equality in JavaScript? That is how. For now, just trust me that it's 3. Oops. 1 equals is used to assign something to a variable. One thing equals something else. That's the 1 equals sign. 2 equal signs actually also checks equality. So if confirm sushi equals true, that will work. But 3 equals also checks equality, and it does it better. Again, I'll explain that another time. So we're just going to use 3 equals for right now. So if confirm sushi, 3 equals, we're checking to see if the left one is equal to the right one. If the left one is equal to the right one, it returns true. If the left one isn't equal to the right one, it returns false. So that's what we wanted. If confirm sushi is equal to true, then we close our parentheses, and then we have these curly brackets. And we use that to tell the computer, this is the block of code, the chunk or the section of code that we want to run if it's true. So that's why we have our curly brackets there. So if confirm sushi is equal to true, then we're going to say, yes, so do I. Sushi's great. Okay, Charlie, that's fine. We have our if statement. So if sushi is true, we alert, okay, you like sushi? Yeah, so do I. So why don't we see what that does? Let's open up our browser. So do you like sushi? I'm going to click yes. Then it's going to say, what kind of sushi do you like? I don't do that. Why not? So you can see here that because I clicked OK, our code ran. You like sushi? Yeah, so do I. Awesome, good for you. You like tuna sushi? What happens if confirm sushi isn't true? Confirm sushi is false. This will not run. So let's look at what happens then. Reload. Do you like sushi? No, I don't like sushi. You said, I don't like sushi. Listen, sushi. You will note that this never happened. That's what we use our if-then statements for. If something happens or something else happens. Okay, great. What happens if I still want to output something if they don't like sushi? Well, we have an else statement for that. So it's an if else. If otherwise. If confirm sushi equals true, then do that. Else, do this. So we have two separate chunks of code. The first one will execute if our conditional is true. The second one will execute if our conditional is false. So now if we run it, do you like sushi? I click yes. That's what we get. We saw that before. But if I click no, we get our second conditional, right? We get our oh, okay. So that is the basics of an if-else statement. Charlie, what if there are more than two things you want to confirm? Let's try this. Confirm sushi. Can you chain these in some way so you can check multiple things at the same time? Oh, yup, I wouldn't have brought it up otherwise. You can do an else if. So now we have a more complicated control flow, right? Flow control. Do you like sushi? Yes. Do I like ginger tea? Yes. You like sushi? You like set of sushi? Great. That's our first one, right? If you like sushi, do this, and then go on to this. We also know that this works. If we say no, oh, okay. So let's do, if confirm sushi is false, but like tea is true, let's check that. So do you like sushi? False. But do you like ginger tea? True. Oh, T is good though, huh? So that's how we would chain multiple things in the same if then else statement. So if, check your thing, and then give it a block of code to run. Second condition, else if, like T is true, do this second chunk of code. In all other cases, otherwise, our catch-all statement, do this. Good, bad, or ugly? Who's feeling okay on if then else statements? I've got slides, obviously, but I wanted to take the temperature of the room quickly. Can you give me a fist of 5 on control flow? 0, I don't understand it. 3, I'm fine. 5, got it. I'm seeing some 5s. That's good. Got a couple of 3s. At least they're not, I didn't see any 1s or 2s, so I guess we're going to count that as a success. If you ever have any questions, just stop me. I'm happy to answer questions during my spiel. I tend to ramble, as you have all noticed already. Each statement is composed of an if, so this is the if block every time. There's an else if block, and then there is an else block. There's the condition, and then there's the resulting code in our curly brackets, our block of code, we call that. So if, here's our first condition. Oh, look what they did. That's very interesting. You remember when I said, what we need to do is we need to check a true or a false value. And so what this does, this triple equals, it compares this to this, and if they're true, it returns true. Otherwise, it returns false. If it's already a true false value, do we really need to do that? We don't need to do the comparison, right? So we can just short circuit that. It's already looking for a true false value. We can just check to see if it's true or false. So if you like tea, or if you like sushi, that will just be true already. Same thing here. If you like tea, it will be true already. Works the exact same way. That's the wrong button. You like sushi? No. Do I like tea? Yes. Oh, tea is good though, huh? See, it behaves the exact same way. It's just less typing, and computer programmers are lazy and they want to type as little as possible. So we're winners today. Great. So back to our slide. If the user likes sushi, so if confirm sushi is true, you like sushi type. Else if ginger tea is true, you like ginger tea. Otherwise, tell everyone what we already know, you don't like sushi or ginger tea. So let's get back into our partners. With a partner, you create a website from scratch that asks users if they eat steak. Here are some instructions, and there is no starter file. You are creating it from scratch, and I will put you into your groups from before if I can figure out the button sequence to do that. Here are the instructions. If they respond with yes, alert the following to the page. Here's a steak sandwich. If they respond no, alert, here's a tofu stir fry. Bonus, ask what the user's birth year is. If they're under 21, alert the following, no sake for you. It's a very Asian-inspired, I guess, specifically Japanese-inspired lesson today. So let me open up our breakout rooms, and then I'll give you 15 minutes. I will give you a couple of minute heads up. If you have any questions, please raise those hands. Oh, don't raise your hands. That's silly. You're going to be in breakout rooms. Throw a question into the Ask the Class channel on Slack. I'll try to pop in on a couple of you throughout the break and see if the TAs have some time as well. Otherwise, good luck, have fun.
Bless you. Bless you.
Hey, bro, sorry about that.
You good.
Did you kind of understand it?
Yeah, I get what he's trying to have us do. Trying to get it to.
Doing all right in here, or am I just bothering you?
I am
Trying to
currently.
load it up.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm doing. I'm trying to figure out the bonus right now.
Oh, okay.
That one's very.
So look up JavaScript conditionals.
Conditionals. The W3 schools.
Yep, should be JavaScript comparison and logical operators. That should get you started. All right, I will leave you to it. Have fun.
All right, thank you. You get it?
Oh yeah, I kind of understand it for the most part. I think the only part that I'm slow at is kind of writing the whole thing together, really. But I understand the concept.
Yeah, I'm starting to get the concepts now.
This one's probably one of the easier ones because this one is just basically question and answer based.
Yeah, like one of those
It's
true and false
not. Yeah.
things. Like it reminds me of like in when we had to take those standardized exams when there's those true and false questions.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a lot easier. I think the hardest part of this class is like when I look at like a code of like HTML, I feel like it's like a big essay or something where it's like it's like a long essay.
For real. Starts to get to so many lines.
It's crazy. Like I'm writing a long paper.
And welcome back. Oh, don't say that. I'm not muted this time. Okay, good. Christmas miracle. Welcome back. Let's go and review. So our conditional activity, we're going to make a new one, looks something like this. The very first thing we're going to do is we're going to ask the user if they like steak. And we do a yes or no question. or we ask a yes or no question using confirm. Next, we ask, we use our conditional. So if each stake is true, if they do each stake, then we alert, here's a stake. If it's false, which is to say otherwise, do our tofu stir fry alert. And if you got to move on to the bonus, you can actually ask for what year you were born. And what you can do is you can do greater than or less than also. You don't just have to check to see if something's exactly equal. With numbers or some or strings and stuff like that, you can actually check less than and equal, greater than and equal. So if you look up, if we go to Google or DuckDuckGo and just do JavaScript conditionals, JavaScript conditionals, first thing that's going to show up probably, or it should show up, is the JavaScript comparison and logical operators on everyone's favorite site, W3 Schools. And so you can see that there are different ways to check equality or conditions here. So equal to, double equals, also equal to, triple equals, not equal, so you can check to see if something's not equal to something else, greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. So that's what we're using here. If it's less than 97, you're crazy. Or, sorry, you're not crazy. You're crazy for sake is what you are. If it's greater than 97, no sake for you. Oh, this never happens. I don't know why that code is still there.
It'll happen if it equals 97, exactly.
What's up?
That will happen if it equals exactly 1997.
Oh, equals 97. Yeah, that's right. You're right.
That'll also happen if somebody does something other than a number.
Yes, that's also true. If you throw in like a Jeffrey in there, that would cause this to happen. All right, questions on that activity?
So I guess my follow-up question to that string bit, is a string bigger than a number, or how does that interact?
String comparisons is a larger issue, and we can talk about that whenever, but I would suggest do.
I mean, in this case, if you've typed in Jeffrey, it says that just fits in under the else.
So we do wrong one, right one. So you eat steak. There you go. So essentially what we're doing is we're comparing a number to a string, and it's weird things are happening there. If you wanted to compare strings, so a string less than another string, that has to do with the with string comparisons and the themselves. We're not going to get into that right now. That's a separate topic. Next, let's do some of this. Let's have some questions as a class, as a together time activity, for fun. So why don't I open this up, and I will take votes on what we think is going to happen. So this very first one, and this is getting into the double equals versus triple equals, and I have a fun little site to show you, page to show you. So if true is equal to true with 3 equals, do you think this is going to happen yes? Are we going to get high? Or is it going to happen no? Are we going to get by?
High.
We're going to get high?
High. High.
Okay.
I would say high.
Everyone seems to think we're going to get high. False equals false. Are we going to get dude or are we going to get nope?
Dude.
You're going to get dude?
Nope.
Someone says nope. All right, we'll figure it out in here in a second. Let's just do these first two first, because there's a lot. Where did it go? Where did you go? There it is. So the very first one, whoever said hi was correct.
I can't see it.
I'm coming. It's slow. There we go. Come on. So to refresh, our first one says hi. We got hi. That is correct. True is equal to true. Shocker. And the second one is dude. False is also equal to false. Now here's where things start getting fun. If you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm hitting Control/, and that comments or uncomments code. So this first one, if string 4 is equal to number 4, are we going to get puppies or are we going to get goats?
Goats.
Goats. Does anyone else think puppies? All right. If string 4 is equal to number 4, are we going to get puppies or goats?
Puppies.
Goats. Aliens.
Goats.
Aliens? If aliens happen, that is a scary. Why don't we find out? First one, we got goats. The string 4 is not equal to the number 4, so we got goats. They're two different types. A string is not a number. Don't bother checking. However, are we going to get the same thing here? Find out next week on JavaScript. We get puppies.
Okay.
If we use the double equals, that behaves differently than the triple equals. So when we use triple equals, what it does a two-step verification process. The first step is the type of the variable the same as the type of the other variable? And I said it before, but I'm gonna emphasize this point, underline it a little bit. You can have different types of variables, and they are not always compatible. A string is a type, a Boolean is a type, and a number is a type. So first, it checks this string and sees if its type is the same as this number here. If they are not the same type, it says, I'm done. I'm not checking anything else. It's false. We're going to go straight here. If, however, they are the same type, then it checks the value. So first it checks a string and a string. Yes, they are both strings. Okay, now I can check. And then it says, awesome, is 4 54? In this case, it would say no. So that's how triple equals works. It checks value and type. Double equals does not do that. Double equals only checks value. Well, what happens if they're different types, Charlie? Well, JavaScript will try to coerce them to be the same type. It will try to convert one or the other of them to be the same type as the original. So in this case, what we would do is we would try to convert the number 4, we would coerce it into string 4, and then it would say, oh, those are the same. This is why when we are doing equality, you always use triple equals and never use double equals. You get some crazy stuff if you do not do that. What kind of crazy stuff? Did I not boot? I could have sworn I had that bookmark. Well, that makes me mad. But this one, I guess, is just fine. So developer.mozilla.org is another good resource. This one does different operators. What I'm really looking at is here. No, what? I'm on the wrong, what? My bookmark's gone and now I'm pissed off. Teach, yeah, it's gone. Shoot, well, let's find it again then. JavaScript, equality.
So are you saying that using double equals is always bad practice, or is there a time and a place where it makes sense to use?
The answer is B, but live by A. There is a time and a place, but it is rare enough to be a mythical creature. Just always use triple equals. So here is one way of looking at some of this data. There are different things in here you don't need to worry too much about, right?
I did.
But here we have, so string 17, number 17. With double equals, it's true. With triple equals, it's false. We've got foo, and we've got not a number, and we've got other things there. So that's something you can look at. Remember, developer.mozilla.org, and just look up equality, comparisons, and sameness. But the one I really wanted you to look at, which is the better one, is this one. So you have here, that was too many H's. This is what you would expect. This is triple equals. Is true equal to true? Yes, only then. It should be true, true, false, false. So you can see that it's just a straight line. Negative infinity is equal to negative infinity and nothing else. However, if you use double equals, you get some craziness. Look at all the other green on there. And if you want true, if you want to check for true, you don't want the string 1 to suddenly be true. That's one of the crazy things that can happen. If you're checking for the string 1, you certainly don't want true to kick that off, right? So I will post this in the Slack resources channel because it's a good one. That's the one I thought I had bookmarked. Bookmark again, only this time, stay there. All right, so that's enough talking your ear off about equality operators. Does anyone have any questions on equality operators? Cool. Then let's continue. Oops. So, if true, alert Google Dolls, else alert Vanilla Ice. Are we going to get Google Dolls or are we going to get Vanilla Ice?
Google Dolls.
Google Dolls. If false, the neighborhood, else One Direction. What do you think we're going to get? The neighborhood or One Direction?
Neighborhood.
One Direction.
One Direction.
Got one, the neighborhood, one, or most One Direction. So the consensus is Google Dolls and One Direction. Shall we see? Google Dolls and One Direction. That is correct. You're checking true or false. True is the first one, false is always the second one.
Can you assign false the variable of true, or is that?
Good question. So if you wanted to do variable true equals false, you want to do something like that?
Yeah.
It won't let you. You can see right here because it's a reserved word. It underlines it in red and it says, true is a reserved word. It's a special word. It cannot be used for variable names.
Oh, okay.
It is always going to be true or false. The same is for if. You cannot do if. If is a reserved word. You cannot do var. Var is a reserved word. These are all, and you'll note the reserved words because they show up differently in your text editor. If is purple, var is blue, false is blue. Those are reserved words that are only useful for that thing. But a very good question. So, if 5 plus 5 is equal to 55. Alert tofu, otherwise alert soybean. Who thinks we're going to get tofu?
Yeah, I do.
Yes,
Think we're getting tofu?
Yeah,
Yep.
tofu.
Who thinks we're getting soybean?
Soybean.
If 6 plus 5 equals 65, alert Richard, otherwise alert Branson. Who thinks we're going to get Richard?
Branson.
Who thinks we're going to get Branson?
Branson.
Richard.
Richard.
Okay, so split here. Most people think tofu. A few people think soybean. Split here. Most people think Richard or Branson. Some people think Richard. Let's check it out. Tofu! So remember, when we are using the plus operator for strings, air quotes, what we are going to get is concatenation. That's going to stick the two strings together and give us 55. So that's why we are getting tofu. Down here, you see two things. Number one, you see the triple equals. So you say, well, immediately I'm thinking type equality, so I don't have to worry about it. But it's in parentheses, and I already explained earlier that when we have a number and we're adding it to a string, it coerces this to a string and then concatenates it. So what we're going to get is Richard.
Can you explain one more time?
Yes. So because this is, so remember, it's way back to algebra. It's our order of operations, right? PEMDAS, right? Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. In this, it's the same thing. There's the same order of operations, and parentheses always come first. So this gets executed first. And when you look at it alone, you can see what we're doing. Six number plus 5 string. And so when you're doing this, when you're adding a number to a string, what JavaScript does is it coerces this into a string, because to add them, they have to be the same type. And then we all know what happens with strings. It concatenates them. So now what we have is this. And we can all see that 65 is indeed equal to 65. That's why we got Richard and not Branson. That was a curveball. I did it on purpose. I hope you learned something, or at the very least hate me more. Whatever. Some change is what I'm looking for. Any questions on that? Awesome. We've got a couple of things that I'd like to go over. We have, 15 minutes left, and we've got 20 minutes worth of activities. I believe in us. I believe we can do this. 25 minutes. All right. Go away. Go to hell. Go to hell and die. Close that. Minimize this. Arrays. So we've discussed different types of variables, right? We've got numbers, we've got Booleans, and we've got strings. There is another type of variable that you can have, and it's called an array. An array is a container that holds other variables. It is a box for boxes. If you want to, if you consider our variables shoe boxes, this would be a shoe tree. No, that's bad. Kind of. A crate of shoes in boxes. So you can see here that we have an array, and this array is named zoo animals. And it has inside of it 4 different variables. It has a zebra, it has a rhino, it has a giraffe, and it has an owl. So far, so good. what does someone want to volunteer something that they find odd about something on this slide? Literally anything. Just shout it out.
Starting with
Index
zero.
zero.
We all start at 0.
Strings are 1.
Most human beings, with their brains and smarts and logic, they start counting at 1 because there's nothing before. Don't worry about it. Then we start going with 1, 2, 3. Computers start with 0. And I will be glad to explain why they start with 0 if we had 5 more minutes, because I love talking about binary. But suffice it to say, computers always start counting at 0. Everything is 0 based, no matter what. So whenever you count something in computers, start with 0. So index 0 is actually the first one. That's zebra. 0, 1, 2, 3. Then what's the length of the array? It's not 3, it's 4, because there are 1, 2, 3, 4 things in it. It's never going to make sense. You're just going to have to learn that one by rote. So this is how we would code something like this. So instead of so we have our zebra, our rhino, our giraffe, and our owl. And we have our variable keyword, but instead of just, the string, we have our square bracket here. That's how we denote that a variable is an array. And you can add things to an array, and you can subtract things from an array, and do all sorts of things. But the important thing is that arrays hold a lot of multiple pieces of information, multiple different variables. Arrays are a type of variable that are called collections, or that are collections. These collections can be made up of strings, numbers, booleans, other arrays, objects, anything. Arrays can hold whatever. Each element of the array is marked by an index. Indexes always start with 0. I know what you're saying. Can I have other types of data in my array other than strings? Here are my strings. We can also have numbers. Charlie, in JavaScript, can you mix types? Absolutely. Mixed arrays are possible. You can have zoo as a string, 12 as a number, caret as a string, 3 as a number. We could throw a Boolean or another array in there if we wanted to. That is totally okay in JavaScript. How do we get them out? So we can put them in there like this. Great. But again, variables, information is only really good if we can use it. So if we put something into the array, I'm very sorry. How do we get it out of the array to use it? Well, you reference its index. To recover the value at any specific index, include the name of the array with a square bracket. And inside the bracket, you put the element's index. You can easily grab the number of elements in the array using the method array.length. Array.length is built in to every array. And you can check .length, and it will return the number of elements in that array. So if you wanted to get, so this is zoo animals, and we wanted to get out zoo animals at index 1, what would we be getting?
Rhino.
Rhino.
Rhino. 0 based is zebra. 1 is rhino. Absolutely correct. Although, be careful. There are 4 things in this. So if we try to get zoo animals at 4, it's going to throw in an error because there are only 3 things in there. 0, 1, 2, 3. If we try to get 4, it's outside the bounds of the array, and it says. So here's a quick array demo. That's the wrong editor. Sorry, that's Sublime Text. I apologize. Away. There we go. So you'll note that we have our zebra, rhino, and giraffe. We're logging out our zooanimals.length. So remember, on any array, you could do the .length, and that will get you the number of items in that array. You can also log out the item at index 1, and item at index 4 is going to say, don't do it. That doesn't exist. So we get F12 to open the console. And there. Console.log, zooanimals.length. We have 4 things in there. There we have 4. Print Rhino to the console because zooanimals at 1, 0, 1, we get Rhino. And then we get undefined because there is no index 4 in our array. I could add an index 4 and then it would work. So now that there are 5 things, there is an index 4. And you can see that we're getting tiger. Questions? All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to Slack out a file to you, and you are going to dissect it a bit. And you would like to predict what is going to get logged out or alerted out, as the case may be, by each line. So this is what I will be sending out to you. You will say, put right here. You know what? Screw it. We don't have enough time. Let's do this as a class. What do you think is going to happen for this one? What do you think? So this is our string or our array right here, array of strings. We have parrot, cat, and dog. What do you think is going to get logged out right here? Animals.length. What is that going to be? I'm going to call on someone. It is going to be who has not said anything tonight. So it means ask questions. Michael Wen has asked questions. Ben, I don't think you've asked a question tonight.
3.
3. Excellent. All right, console.log animals at index 1. What do you think is going to happen, Vanita? I can't hear you. You're on mute. There we go.
Wait, so on 1, it's be cat?
It's going to be cat. All right. Console.log animals at index 2. What do you think is going to happen? John asked questions. I picked on other John. Davis has asked questions. Tom has been involved. Cassandra has been involved. Ahmed asked a question. Jonathan.
Dog.
Dog. And then what do you think is going to log out here? Nick.
That would be parrot.
What about this one? Let's ask Jamal.
So it looks like it would just be 3.
3. All right. How about this one? Let's ask Salma.
Would it be 2?
Okay. Now we're getting super complicated. Animals.index of bear. What do you think is going to happen when we do this? And just to clarify, we've got this one up here. I'm going to ask Abdi. No response. That's okay. Tim, what do you think?
I'm going to guess and say parrot.
All right. And then at the very bottom, console.log animals.index of parent. What are we going to get out? And I will ask, sorry?
Is it 0?
0 for Abdi. All right.
Change my answer to 6 instead of 2.
This one right here?
Yeah.
All right. So let's take a look. And bear with me while I load it up. I'm going to give you the answers. Actually, you know what? It's more fun if we do it this way. So our first guess was 3. Every time. Console.log animals.length. There are 3 things in the array, so we get 3. That is correct. Console.log animals at index 1. Cat. That is correct. 0, 1. Console.log animals at index 2. Dog. Correct. 0, 1, and 2. Console.log animals at index 0. Same thing. Parrot. Parrot. Correct. Now we get into the fun stuff. Console.log animals at index animals.length. Well, remember, animals.length is 3, right here, 3. Animals at 3 is going to be undefined, right? Because it's only 0, 1, and 2, because everything's 0 based. So we're combining things here. Animals.length gets resolved first, so that's 3. And animals at 3 doesn't exist. Tricky. Here, same question, but slightly different. Animals.length gets resolved first. So that's 3. 3 minus 1 is 2. And animals at 2 is dog. And then we've got parrot. This is going to be fun. So console.log, there is an index of, so you can try to see where in an array a string is, right? And how this works is essentially you're searching the array to find a specific value. If the value is found, this index of will return the number, the index of that object. If it is not found, it will return -1. So what we are doing is we are searching for bear. Is parrot bear? No. Is cat bear? No. Is dog bear? No. So it's actually going to return -1. And so that's what we're seeing here. It's not 0, which I see where you're coming from, but no, it is actually the number -1. Trixie. And then finally.
Why wouldn't that be undefined? Is it because it's adding?
Because you'll note that animals.indexof is a function. If we did this, bracket, right? If we were trying to get animals at index of this is -1. And if we got animals at -1, then it would be undefined. You are correct. But because it's just the animals.indexof, it's just giving us the number, which is to say, bear was not found, therefore -1. Parrot, however, is found. Parrot is right there, and that is index 0. And so that's what we got, index 0. Right here. So arrays have a lot of built-in stuff that you can use. It is a type that has a lot of utility functions built in. So let's do. If you want to read up a little more on arrays, why look at that. It's JavaScript arrays at W3 schools. And you can read a little bit more about what you can do, length property, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And if you really want to get crazy, you can actually look at not the tutorial, but the objects. Where's the API? Whatever. You can also look up JavaScript object, JavaScript array methods. There they are. JavaScript array methods. So you can do .pop.push. It'll explain what that means. You can do .shift. That's built into the array. You can do unshift. You can overwrite them. So fruits at 0 is banana when we declare it. But we can actually set fruits at 0 to be kiwi. They're just variables. We can overwrite them just like anything else. You can delete elements, delete fruits at 0. You can splice. There are all sorts of cool things you can do here. So if you'd like, I suggest you take a look at some of those on your own time, or come loaded up with questions next time. Any questions before I cut us loose? So I would like to point out one more thing before we leave. There is an additional, this is an extra thing that we would only do if we have extra time. It's additional, it's not necessary by any means. But there is an additional exercise called bands that deals with arrays in more depth. And I heartily suggest that if you have the time, you take a look at this exercise on your own before next class. So it is already up on GitLab, and I'm not going to throw up the solution until after next class. But last chance for questions before office hours.
Can you just put like a reminder in Slack to check that activity out? Because I won't have time tonight, but I think it'd be nice for everyone in the class so that we could do it over the next couple of days.
Sure, I will throw something in. I'll just throw something in class activities, I guess, and I'll probably won't pin it, but I'll do something.
Thank you.
Yep. Otherwise, have a good evening. I'll be around for another half hour for office hours, and if you need anything, stop by, say hi. Good night.
I have a Linux question for you, if you're all right with that.
For sure.
I recently got my Linux machine set up, and I've been trying to do as much learning as I can with it. But what recommendations would you have for things that I should maybe take note of, differences in Windows, or anything dealing with web development that I should look into?
Well, what distro are you using?
Just Ubuntu for the moment, but I've heard a lot of good things about Mint, and I'm already considering, I don't know.
I've heard very good things about Mint. I don't know what package manager Mint uses. Does it use Yum? Jackson, you use Mint?
I think so. I've heard something about that.
I don't know much about it.
Okay.
Most of my Linux experience is through Docker. So
I'm fine with using whatever. I just, I know there's a learning curve.
I've heard good things about Mint as well, but Ubuntu is generally considered to be the easiest to learn.
For
so
sure.
you might